Hi everybody, Kate Floss, citizen reporter, reporting for New Zealand and the will of God. We are at the court. Floss and Campbell are at the court and we're going to be filing, what are we going to be filing there, Curry? Because you can tell them all about it.
Yeah, so we're asking for a declaratory judgment to basically establish our rights. So those are our rights pursuant to our right to justice, also our right to our other rights that are not affected, as well as our indubitable and ancient rights, which are protected under the 1688 Bill of Rights.
The 1688 Bill of Rights, that's what it's all about, folks. Now this is all about. It's what it's all about. This is not a criminal charge. What we're going to ask the judge is a declaration to say that our rights exist. That's all it is, isn't it? So nobody's getting prosecuted. Right. We're not really allowed to mention names. So we're not really allowed to mention names, but we're just going to be getting a declaration that our rights are still existent, that our 1688 rights have always been with us, that they're not going to be removed from us, and that nobody can remove the will of God. We're talking about the will of God here, and it's all about that, a will was written for us 400 years ago. We can't mention names, not going to mention names, but we are all under the protections of Her Majesty, and we just, Curry's going to be going into the court. I better let her go because we're quite late, but she is going into the court. We are. She is going into the court today to get a declaration from the judge to ask if our rights are still existent. And so,
absolutely.
And if
so I'm just going to ask if we just be respectful to the court, and also know that we're going to be going into the court like any second now, and if we can just respect the court, and if everyone can just be, if we can just have a moment's silence.
We're going to be quiet. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet. Okay, everyone be quiet. Shh.
It's my bits and bobs. Yeah. So I'm here to file a notice of this. No, I haven't. No, sir. Perfectly happy. No. Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Oh, do you actually have a signing thing? Because I don't have my app on this phone. Thank you.
Can't really talk. Can't talk about anything because we have to wait and see what's going to happen. We have to be very quiet.
So this one, hopefully our paperwork's all in order, because we like to make sure our paperwork is all in order for the court. Hello, it's just my friend there on the phone. She wanted to be here with me while I filed. So I'm hoping that these are all in order. I actually haven't signed any of them yet, but I'm happy to do that in front of you. They're being filed by myself. Oh, yeah.
Judicial review, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Is it just this? These
Just that one, and these are the copies for the other parties. Yeah.
Okay.
See that.
Let me just
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Four copies. Actually, 5. One is from our own reports.
Yeah,
5 copies. God save the Queen.
God save the Queen. And the will.
Absolutely.
The will of 1688 that was given to us by God. God is going to court today. We're not going to court. No, we're not. We're going to be the instruments to take God to court.
We're going for him.
For the first time in 50 years, we are going to be the instrument to take God to court. So this is historical. Oh, is she there? This is an historical moment in New Zealand history. The 21st of the 12th of the 21st year. And we are taking God to court.
We're not taking him to court. We are going to court for him.
We're going. Yes, we can't take him. We're going to court for him. Yeah, and what was it that you said that he is on the top and he is also on the bottom on the 21st?
Yes, so he is above and below.
He is above and below.
All things above and below belong to God.
God, all things above and below belong to God. And today is the 21st of the 12th, 21st.
Correct.
So we're just acting, we're just, reclaiming, we're going back to claim.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
We're claiming it. So, yeah, absolutely.
And we're claiming that we are under God's will, and we claim to uphold.
Well, we claim our ancient and indubitable rights, and we'd like a declaratory order to that effect.
Our ancient and indubitable rights and a declaratory order by the judge to that effect, that these rights continue to exist.
For all time to come.
For all time to come. So this is not just only today we're talking about. This is for all the descendants to come are going to be protected if the judge rules the declaration for us. So this is not a criminal charge.
This is not taking any action against anyone. This is just simply asking to please establish and define what our rights are.
And so we're all going to know where we stand. It's not even about winning or losing, because if we don't get the declaration, we know that our rights are in terrible danger and we know what we have to fight for. If we do get the declaration, we know that we have a lot more rights than what we thought we had. And we can all work with that. We've got some solid ground to stand on. We've got something to hold us up. And we're not sinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so a lot of people have been feeling that they're sinking and that they've got nothing to hold on to. So we want to try and provide them with solid ground again. We're going to say, here's some solid ground that you can stand on. So everybody's so confused, aren't they? I have to be quiet.
Yeah, they are.
Everybody's so confused about...
We just have to respect the court. We just have to respect the court because there's people working here and we don't want to share that info too much. Yeah. And that's one thing people should always remember, that the courts are here to help us. There's also many benefits in the court services, and that it's not about taking any action against anyone. It's just about having our rights established. And
we respect the courts. We respect the court's decision. Whatever their decision is, we will accept it. We respect the courts. We don't believe in this running around disrespecting courts, disobeying courts. We respect courts and their decisions. If we don't respect our courts, then we will descend our country into...
We're acting in dishonour.
Yeah.
We're acting in dishonour if we don't respect.
Yeah, it's
and
very...
we must always uphold that respect.
Yeah, very, very important that we respect our courts and we hold our courts up, because under God's will we should have courts in the light that we can go to. And if you don't, have you seen a country without courts? There's a lot of terrible things. So we respect the courts and we honour what the courts have to say to us. We respect the judge and we honour whatever his ruling is, we will honour it and follow the legal process. There is a legal process. And I think that New Zealand is lacking a legal process by the people, not by the government, but by the people.
They're lacking the knowledge of that legal process and how it works. There's a lot of misinformation about the courts and how and what they are about, but actually for those that actually know, the courts uphold the law. And if you know who you are and you know how to exercise your rights, then the courts are the provision for which we can do those things and have those things established.
And I do believe that if you're on the right side of the law, the courts will rule in your favour. I do believe that.
Yeah, well, if your argument is correct, absolutely. And if your case is well founded, absolutely. The courts are very honourable and they do uphold those things. And I have a lot of faith and confidence in them. Sometimes it might be an administration thing where we need to add something to a document, but that's not the court saying that we can't do it. It's just saying your paperwork's not quite correct and it has to be done within the rules. So we have to make sure that everything is done within the rules.
And that goes the same for our police though, doesn't it? That we should be respecting our police and they're just doing their job, and all of this nonsense of, not wanting to give your name to the police. And,
it's really dishonourable when you do things like that, not wanting to give names and not wanting to be helpful. It's a really dishonourable process that actually can bring a lot of harm to families and put families in harm's way.
Yeah.
So we always want to be maintaining respect to the courts, the ministers, the judges, the lawyers, all of those things. We want to show respect to them.
Yeah.
They actually work very hard in doing what they're doing.
They do. So. They certainly do. And we do want to act in honour. And we don't want to belittle them. When you belittle them or demean their power, we're damaging ourselves.
It shows you haven't reached the age of maturity.
I think so. I think, exactly. That's exactly right. We know, because we need these systems. They may not be.
We need to work together.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We need to work together.
Like me and you, Curry, we work together, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
We work together and we get success.
We disagree on some
don't
things,
always
but,
agree, but we still know that we need to work together. And
sorry, just have a look.
Cool.
Does it have the judgment or is it a judicial?
It could be it is a judicial review that we're wanting, but because I think it's. So we're wanting a declaration to the effect stating the applicant's rights without ordering any specific action pursuant to Section 2 of the Declaratory Judgments Act. So that's why we put it under that. But if you think that it comes under the judicial review, it's part of judicial relief, though.
I mean, okay. So what do you want to do? Are you wanting?
We just want a declaratory order.
Right.
Yeah. No, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
So we also just need.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can do that, and as well as the other parties. Yep. Okay. And I have those. Yep. Okay.
Only because we can't.
Can I fill it out? Hand fill it out over here. Okay. All right. So I have to just redo the cover page because I forgot to put the addresses in. And so these are the things that I'm talking about, that as long as we make sure that everything's consistent with the rules, you don't have any issues. It's when you start arguing and saying you don't have to do those things that it's really dishonourable. So she's asked us just to amend some of the things on the cover page, and we're happy to do that.
Yes, we are. Let's go. be exciting. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we'll do that. The apologies. Yep, that's fine.
That's right.
Yep, that's fine with us. Yep, they're all on leave too. Yeah, I get that. That's fine. So we're going to look at February and yes, oh yeah, that'll be great. Thank you.
Okay.
We don't want any action, just declaratory order.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no action. Yeah.
So the only thing about the declaratory judgment is that you claim to be filed in court places to be responding.
Oh, okay. All right. So do you think I should go to Wellington?
So it's actually, well, either
Could I-
Wellington or Auckland.
Okay.
Jacinda is going to be your first
Yeah.
respondent, unless you can show that the court actually arose in Wellington.
Yeah, probably. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
okay, part 5.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have a look at
So
it.
just have a look at part 5.
All right, right. Oh, would you be able to write that? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I'm wondering if, because when I looked up the addresses, it gave us Wellington addresses, so I'm wondering then if it would be a Wellington where we file it in that High Court?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. So they're just saying that we need to file it in the closest court nearest to the respondent, and because their addresses are in Wellington, we're actually going to go to Wellington and do it. And I think that sounds great. Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah,
so
okay,
you can see them through Barnum Pay.
okay.
And is there
Barnum
something
Pay.
on Barnum Pay? Are you wanting to get feedback?
No, we can pay the fee, that's
Yeah,
all right.
So if you go through Barnum Pay, it's
Okay.
on the, if you write down the court system,
We can file it online. It's going to save a trip to Wellington until we obviously go to a, to the. Would we go to a hearing or? Okay, good. All right, cool, awesome. Thank you. And would I need to have them stamped or anything or witness? Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you. You've made this process really, really much easier. Thank you so much for checking those things for us. Appreciate your help.
Okay,
I'm going to represent for the both of us. So what would I need in that respect?
you may not
Ask about the video in the court.
Could she come in through VGA or through video conference or?
You both could.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. We can do video conference. Yeah, no.
You can only represent.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And so absolute representation.
Okay.
Both get there.
Cool. Oh, awesome.
It's just that
I can't represent her. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, perfect sense. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help today. Radio. So she's just given us the pathway in which we can file these things online. I just have to add the addresses. And it was funny because when we were coming here, I looked down and I went, oh no, I forgot the addresses. And I won't make excuses for myself, but I had a very rushed day today taking care of other matters. But now that we know that I have to put the addresses in and that we can file it online, and that honestly, the High Court here was just absolutely amazing. They're really wonderful staff, and they're really supportive. And like I said, as long as you respect the court, the court will absolutely do their best to help you. It's when we start throwing our toys out of the cot that the court just says, you know what, this is really unreasonable behaviour, and we're going to ask you to leave. So that right there, you could see that, as manners go a long way, and respect goes a long way. And as long as we're upholding those things, the courts are always there to be able to uphold the law for us when we need them. And like I said earlier, there's many benefits to the court services.
There are, and one of the things, because I can talk now, right? one of the things that I can say is that here we are, Curry, making our own news, aren't we? Making our own news.
Right. We received a little tohu to say, make your own news. And we decided, fine, we'll make our own news.
Here we are making our own news. We've been to, because I can talk now, I'm bursting. You know, Kate Floss, I'm bursting.
We're out of the court.
All right, we're out of the court.
I can see you bursting there, Kate.
I get to see me bursting. I was like, I'm going to burst.
So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to redo the cover pages, put the addresses on for everybody. And then you and I are allowed to appear on via conference, so we can conference call into the court, and I can actually file these online to save me having to go for a trip all the way to Wellington.
And is her ladyship going to be there?
Well, they would have to be because they've been called.
So we can't say any names, but we can't say any names because it's bad to say the names. But we have called some people, some respondents to the court, and we're going to ask the respondents. We can't mention their names though, but we're going to be asking the respondents if our rights before the judge, if our rights given us by Almighty God, we're going to be asking for a declaratory can be established.
We're asking for our rights to be established.
Yeah, we are.
And obviously, if the judge is unable to establish those rights, then from that, what we can ascertain beyond a reason of a doubt is that our rights absolutely have been affected.
Well, that is the thing, is that we want to know where we stand. We want to, there's all these laws coming out, and nobody knows where do they need to stand. If we've got our 1688 indubitable rights, our ancient rights, if they still stand under the protection of the Queen, then we know that we've got them to fight with. Or if the judge in his wisdom, who we respect all of his orders, if the judge in his wisdom decides that we don't have those rights, we then know that we are really in deep trouble, and we know where to move from then to either fight to get them back or fight for new rights, don't we?
Yeah, that's right. There is a remedy in order to, if our rights are deemed that they have been affected and no longer valid, there is a remedy for us and a right to justice. So for those that know what your rights are to justice, the remedies are contained there.
Exactly. But we, basically what we're saying to the entity that is in power, what we're basically saying to them is we simply want to know where we stand.
Yeah,
that's what we want to know. We want to know which grounds we're standing on, because their laws are changing every other day, and people are very confused. The public are very confused, and we do respect the institution of government, and we respect the courts, and we respect the police. But many people don't know where they stand. And this is what nobody is criminal. These people are called respondents.
This is not a criminal matter.
Not a criminal matter. Nobody's going to be penalised or anything. But we just will ask for a declaration to say, where do we stand? Yeah, where is our ground? Are we on solid ground, or are we on liquid ground?
That's right. That's right. And that will give us good clarity in terms of what solutions are then available to us. So for every liability that's created, a remedy must be made available for that. And so once we've established where those rights are, we can either breathe a sigh of relief and say, right, our rights are completely still intact and they haven't been affected, or we'll come out feeling, okay, we now know that our rights have been affected, and we now need to look at the remedies that we'll need to apply to have those things, I suppose, challenged or defended or argued in court. So we'll have the right to be able to, bring civil proceedings or defend civil proceedings against the Crown.
Those things. Well, not against the Crown. No, not against the Crown. We're with the Crown. No, against the institutional entity that says that they're our government at the moment. I just call them the entity because I'm not sure who they are at the moment. But I will just want to say this thing, just for clarity for the viewers. What we're talking about here is that we've got two Bills of Rights in New Zealand. One of them is the 1990 Bill of Rights of New Zealand. And if you go down to section 28, it says that all of these rights, existing rights, are not affected by this 1990 Bill of Rights. Now, the 1990 Bill of Rights has section 4 and 5, which is called justified limitations, where if the entity or the government decides that they are justified to override any of the rights in the 1990, then they can do it if they can show justification. But if you go down to section 28, it says that existing rights and other rights, which is our 1688 rights, are not affected. So we're going to ask where we stand. They
cannot be abrogated.
Yes, and they cannot be, it says that they cannot be abrogated, means that they cannot be removed even under the justified limitations clause. So we're just going to ask...
Obviously justify a cause of action then, if that is the case.
Yes. So we're just trying to ask where the public stands, aren't we, Curry?
Yeah. Well, we're trying to establish where God's people stand.
It really is about God's people, and we will just finish up here and we will finish it talking about God. Because in the 1688 rights, it doesn't say that the Majesty will rule over us. What it says that it pleased Almighty God that Her Majesty would act as the instrument to hold up our rights above man-made laws. Our rights are excluded from man-made laws, and they're not to be touched.
And it was a way that we could be protected from barbarous nations and their actions and their cruel and unusual punishments that they're imposing and inflicting on God's people.
That isn't exactly the exact why this reason the 1688 Bill of Rights, and I believe that it is a will from God. I believe, I'll just be a little bit religious here, but in my conspiracy theory, when Jesus Christ was killed, I believe that Christ came back and gave us a will. And this was his will because he could see that these things were continuing. People were continuing to be slaughtered, burned at the stake, ripped apart by horses. It's called, just cruel punishments that they were inflicting on all the people of Germany, the Germanic tribes, the English tribes, the Scottish, Irish tribes, and that had overflowed into New Zealand. And now in New Zealand, Maori and the Aboriginals in Australia were being slaughtered. And I do believe that in 1688, Jesus came back and gave us a will. And this is what we're challenging to the government, is that we believe our will, our ancient rights of the will continue to exist.
Have not been affected.
Not been affected. They're not, and they should not be affected. Not for any reason. There is no reason to affect them, in my opinion.
That's right.
And so this is probably, this is, I won't call it a trial because there are no criminals in this case, just a reminder. There are no criminals.
It's a judicial review.
It's a judicial review of where we stand with our ancient rights, and nobody is at penalty. No, you're not at penalty. No, there's no penalty for you, and you're not at penalty, and you are not at penalty. And you are not at nobody, and I'm not at penalty, you're not at penalty. We're just asking for a review and a declaration. Is that right? Under
establish our right.
Under Almighty God.
Yes.
So that's all we're going to sign off now for the
So we have sworn our oath of allegiance.
So we get a high five there. Give you a high five. There you go. And I'm just love you, and we're working together. New Zealand people working together finally, and we're going to take a walk with God. That's what we're doing. We're two people and we're going to walk together with
time
God.
to bring his laws back.
Into New Zealand, into all our countries, Australia,
into New Zealand, into all our Commonwealth countries.
All our Commonwealth, there's 15 Commonwealth countries, England, and this is an important case because if we're going to find out either way for all of our countries, this is not about New Zealand. This is about Australia who come under these rights, England who come under these rights. Canada, even America are entitled to these rights by their birth. So we're fighting for everybody to find out where we stand and where our ancient rights, where have our ancient rights gone, or do they still exist, or we want to know from the judge. And so this is probably the most important case in the history of mankind, short and simple, in the history of mankind since 1688. It is the most important. It's biblical. It is biblical.
It's a very important claim.
It certainly is, isn't it? All right, I'm going to see you later because I'm dying to put this on to the viewers because they're all waiting.
I want to get back and file these. I want to make the amendments and then get them filed online.
And I'll send you my address. And they have said that Queen Floss, they have said, just to put a wee bit, they have said that Queen Floss may attend the hearing by the, what kind of TV is it called?
It'll be video conference.
Video conference, and you never know, our mate might turn up by the video conference as well. So, but we do know that Queen Kate Floss is going to be permitted to come by the video conference. So
yes, you are. They did confirm that at the court today.
They just informed us at the
blessings,
court.
Kate.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for all the hard work and all the research that you've done to put all this together. I was just merely your instrument that I captured what was inside of you and then put that down on paper. So I just want to commend you for all your hard work, Kate. We would not be here without you. Thank you very much.
And let's remember that we're all God's instruments too. We are all God's instruments. Absolutely. And we'll just finish with, but the most important instrument of all. So let's finish with the most important. Give thanks to Her Majesty who was born into this and never had any choice. She has held this for us all these years. But I better just say one more thing. You have to claim it. We have not been claiming. And we've got to claim it. Her Majesty can't force it onto you. She doesn't have that power. But we have to claim it.
You were given the choice.
Yeah, so, and we're going to claim, aren't we?
But on that note, God save the Queen.
God save the Queen. Certainly God save the Queen. We'll finish with God save the Queen. Bye-bye. Oh, I don't know how to